You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org. This episode of Pizza Quest is brought to you by Central Milling, hand-selected grain, expertly milled for passionate bakers. Central Milling is the farmer, the miller, and the baker working together to preserve American farmland for tomorrow while providing the highest quality flour and grains for the bakers of today. Dating back over 150 years, Central Milling is built on generations of knowledge, and they know that premium flour starts at the source. Employee-owned, Central Milling works directly with their farmers to sustainably grow grains that have exceptional flavor, nutrient content, color, and baking performance, which results in one of the largest selections of premium specialty flour and grains in the country. Hand-selected for the highest baking qualities, milled, cracked, or blended slowly to minimize heat generation, then bake-tested for performance. Learn more about Central Milling and their products at centralmilling.com. Hi, I'm Peter Reinhardt, and welcome to Pizza Quest. We're coming to you today from the Pizza Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's March, and I'm sitting in the Pizza University booth right next to a beautiful little wood-fired oven where we're here because I'll be teaching a class in mid-May at Pizza University in the Washington, D.C. area. We'll give more details on that later, but I'm here with Anna Crucitt from Mercurio's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Anna, you've been kind of a big presence here at the expos, both here in Atlantic City. You're involved in the Women in Pizza movement as well. You're a player, basically.
Yeah, thanks.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and about Mercurio's and about your brother, who at this very moment is competing in the Neapolitan category in the competition.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me on. Anna Crucitt from Mercurio's in Pittsburgh. We are a family-owned and operated pizzeria, and we also wholesale manufacture gelato. I do the business with two of my brothers, but we are the youngest of 7 children. So we grew up in a gelato business with our parents, and I took it over outside of college, and we added pizza to it. Mostly
so you
because
started with gelato and moved into pizza.
We started with gelato, but selling gelato in the winter in Pittsburgh was just a little bit challenging.
I can see why, yeah.
So we wanted to do something we thought would be more sustainable through the year. And Michael loved making pizza in high school and worked in fine dining in college. And we decided that Neapolitan pizza would be the best pair with gelato. So that's
how Neapolitan, you're doing like wood fire style,
yes.
Authentic Neapolitan.
Yes.
And that's what he's competing in today.
That's right. Right now.
So we'll find out in a few minutes. Well, not when the results are announced later.
Yes.
How he did, but how did he get up to speed in the skill set that he needed to do this? Did he go to
for Neapolitan?
Yeah. Did he go to a school or train?
So, kind of an interesting story, but I'll try to speak on it quickly.
Yeah, we'll do it quickly because we'll have him back at another time. But
yeah, Roberto Capruccio is from Naples and came to Pittsburgh.
He started in Pittsburgh, didn't he? With his place, yeah.
And he, I must have been 12 or 13 at the time, came to my parents' gelato shop and was sampling it to see if it was good enough to put in the restaurant.
Yeah, this pizza's awesome.
Yes, and so he left Pittsburgh, I'm sure somewhere around 2004, 2005, and opened in New York City. And when Michael said he wanted to make pizza, my mother said, I think I have this chef's number. I'm going to find it. So she just called Roberto and told him that Michael wanted to make pizza, so we just sent him to New York, and that I think was before he did even pizza schools, but that's how he had his training.
So he got to basically apprentice with the master.
Yes.
And did he go to school for that afterwards? Did he go to one of the pizza schools?
He did. He went to the Accademia after in New York City.
In New York,
And so he and my brother Joe are both certified master pizzaioli, and they do judging competitions in Rimini every year. Joe judges at the Pizza Expo and the Atlantic City competition.
Did this all happen for you? Jumping into this?
We opened our restaurant in 2012.
So like about 10, 12 years now you've been in the game.
Yes.
So things have happened fast.
Yes.
You moved up, and Michael and Joe moved up the ladder fast too in their pizza skills.
Yes, Michael won in 2017, he won the Caputo Cup in Atlantic City. And so that kind of put us on the trajectory.
I was there for that. I remember, yeah.
And Joe came in second place for gluten-free in that same year, which is super
cool.
exciting, but we placed really high in 2 of the 4 divisions.
That's awesome. So family-wise, you're cleaning up, and you got like a Kelsey Brothers thing going there with them.
We just all love pizza.
Which one gets to be with Taylor Swift?
Oh my gosh.
So did you stay focused on the gelato side, or are you also a pizzaiola?
I am a pizzaiola. It was just one of those things where Michael, I learned naturally through needing to work at the restaurant. I would work on the line. I never really considered myself a pizza maker or one of the pizza makers. I just was a girl that could make pizza if needed. And in 2017, 2018, I got asked by Orlando Food, Casey Dirk at the time, just said, we're looking for, do you make pizza? And I said, I do. What are you asking me? And she said, we're looking for women to come to our booth tomorrow between this time, and we're going to hold an event. It's called Women in Pizza. And we'd love for you to come and just make some pizza. And I was like, well, okay. I didn't really think much of it. And it wasn't until that whole movement came out that I was like, started to pay attention to, why aren't women competing? Why aren't we in these booths making pizza? And I had been around it, but my brothers were the ones who made pizza, but I never put me in that category.
Yeah, we had to kind of break that glass ceiling of just our thinking,
just the
thinking. Limitations. Yeah,
the thinking. And so the next year in 2019 was the first time I had ever competed. I competed in gluten-free and came in second place.
Oh, good.
Which
is not easy.
I love to win.
Easy category.
So
no. Winning is better, but second is.
For my first time competing, and I just wanted to be a face, a presence. Like women are out there. We're making.
You had to throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah.
Yep. So in fact, I saw you were featured, weren't you, in this latest issue of PMQ magazine?
Yeah.
There's a whole spread on women in pizza. This women in pizza movement has exploded.
Yes.
And you're one of the 10? Well, you're 10 who were featured. There's probably how many women are part of your little association? There's about 20 women or so.
I think that they've done the Women in Pizza. Stephanie has done over 60 interviews with different pizzaiolas all over the U.S. It started as about 9 ambassadors, where we would just collectively talk about what we thought we could do to have more presence. But really, when Stephanie came on, she's just kind of taking it all over.
And you're talking about Stephanie Swain, who's one of the 2 leaders of this group. And Ozzy Mortati wrote the story, and she also organized it. So you're in with the 2 powerhouse women, for one thing, and they're looking for women like you who are also powerhouses.
Yeah.
And you're growing something.
But it's so important. I have 3 little girls. They're 6, 8, and 10, and I don't want them to ever feel like that making pizzas for a boy. I don't want that to be their cousin's position, and then they'll work somewhere else. If they want to, they can.
Well, as women are making a presence in the pizza world, it's become accepted very quickly, but it wasn't always that way. A few years ago, as you said, there was a perception that we had to break through, that this was a man's job, or women couldn't handle the stress, or there are all sorts of ideas floating around. So what do you think that, number one, what's powering the Women in Pizza movement, and what is it that women are bringing to this new generation of pizza, I'll call it artisan pizza, or independent pizza making, that that's the quality that women bring that was needed?
I think that it was just a different level of thinking about the ingredients. I feel like even in social media helps this, where it was traditional for so long and everybody kind of stayed in the traditional category of what they served at their pizzeria. And then you have a bunch of women coming in and doing different things or using different styles. And it's a nice way of collaborating other ideas with men and with women. And not that it's better, it's just, not that it's better with what men are doing, but together. It's just our perspective.
And I think that, the more women that are doing it, the more we're starting. It's so new that we're still trying to get words around how to describe the impact.
I think for me, the biggest, what I have noticed, because I've been going and traveling to pizza competitions since 2012, where if you had 30 competitors in a room, 1 or 2 of them were female, period.
Yeah.
And now you might have 8 or 9 in the same category. And I think it's kind of interesting that we still are talking about this But the fact that we've been able to move from 6% presence to a 20-some% presence in just about 4 years is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Until we get to 50-50, and this is like, of course, women.
But it paves the way for more women who want to get into it.
Absolutely.
To say, look, it's already happening.
And I'm not going to lie. Like, I grew up in between 4 brothers, so I'm a little bit of a pistol, and men, I was just raised, like, I'm not intimidated in certain situations, but when you're in Italy and you have 75 pizzaioli standing around you, and they're all men, and they're all, you're kind of like, how do I fit in that? Right. And I think, too, America's doing a really awesome job of bringing that out, but in Europe, it's still not there.
It's still there. Are they still very patronizing to it?
Yes.
Have you competed in Italy?
I did.
And how do they view you and look at you and treat you?
I competed in the American division, but I will say that Georgia, winning a couple years ago.
Georgia Caporuscio, who
Roberto's daughter,
who's now a major force.
And
which is amazing.
And I think that was very eye-opening, too, to like what the power of women can do in the industry.
You guys are knocking down barriers left and right here. Yeah. And basically, there are really no more limits, no more barriers, except to just grow the numbers.
That, and I think it's just necessary for us to show up to the expo, show up when there's a festival in your town. If you make pizza, even if you're an at-home pizza maker, be there. And encourage other people through social media, follow the podcast, follow the other Women in Pizza participants, and just promote them.
And for those of you who are listening to this show, Anna mentioned that Stephanie has her own podcast where she interviews women. She has a show that's on. It's available through, I don't know, Instagram or YouTube or something. So that's called Women in Pizza.
Yes.
So look, that you can follow what's going on in that, because we'll have some women on from time to time on the show. We've had Stephanie and quite a number of the members of the sort of this group on the show, but if you want to hear it, about women, constantly of what's going on and keep track of what's happening, tune into Stephanie's podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good way. There are people who I see on social media, but I don't know a lot about them. And I think it's cool that they can come on and tell their story.
Yeah.
And it's there. You can go back and watch. Or I saw this person at the competition, and I want to go. This is kind of like an archive of, like, the stories of the women in the industry.
Yes.
They don't have that for men.
It's true.
It's cool.
And it's cool because now we're in the early days, so you can get in at the ground floor and you watch this, because 5 years from now when we have this conversation, it's going to be in a totally different place. It's going to be like, what do you mean? What are we even talking about Women in Pizza? It's already a done deal.
It's done. Women 50-50. And I would just say, too, like, when you would come to Expo, and it's nothing, with the show, against the show, but it would just be, like, the men in the booth making the pizza and the women there for sales, or the women there to supporting roles, supporting sales, And even the same thing at my restaurant, too. It's like, Michael's the pizza maker, and I'm the wife.
Are you the friend of the house?
No, we both do it all. It's just like the perception of when people come in, or when you're in the booth. So I just think it needs to be. People need to be aware of it, and also make decisions to balance.
I understand. Before we run out of time, there's something else I want to talk with you about, which is your forte, gelato.
Yes.
I don't want to lose you with it before we get to talk about gelato. Is the gelato under the brand name Mercurios? Is that and is it available outside of Pittsburgh? Is it only there?
We are working. We currently distribute with Greco, and so we're working on moving it throughout. But right now we are just in the tri-state area of Pennsylvania, Ohio. Maryland.
And if people are living in that area, what kind of stores can they find it in? Where would they find it?
No, it would just be other restaurants, hotels, other restaurants, other ice cream shops.
So you're mostly serving food service.
That's correct.
Not the public,
We are working very hard to move beyond that, but what happened was this pandemic, and everybody started eating gelato, and I didn't anticipate it. So, like, the demand is growing slightly faster than the infrastructure. Also, too, because we own 2 pizzerias, and we all have little kids. So it's like we're just trying to grow more organically and not force it, and so.
Yeah, you don't want to get ahead of yourselves, basically.
Right.
But yeah, there's some pretty good gelato brands out there, that we can find now at the supermarkets. But it's still, I always feel like it's not the same as getting it from the source.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So, can you explain? Because we only have a couple minutes left. Because I know you have to be at another presentation in a few minutes. What is the difference for people who are know gelato, but they don't really know what's the difference between gelato and ice cream?
Sure. So there are three main differences between gelato and ice cream. So the first one I would say is the butter fat. In the United States, the Department of Agriculture says that anything that's above 10% butter fat can be called ice cream. Anything that is below 10% butter fat is called a frozen dessert. So I'm technically not allowed to say that I make ice cream because my percentage or butter fat is at 7 or 8%, depending if it's a vanilla or a chocolate flavor.
So gelato is much cooler than frozen dessert.
It's lower in butter fat. It has more sugar, but it's lower in butter fat than ice cream. So that's number one. Butter is what gives ice cream its really super creamy texture, which is awesome.
But your gelato's creamy.
But the gelato's creamy. You say why?
Yeah, that's my
second reason,
question,
number two,
yeah.
the density. So whenever I am making a gallon of gelato and I have a gallon of mix sitting in front of me and I put it in a gelato machine, the overrun on that is 1.2 gallons of product out. If I put a gallon of ice cream mix in an ice cream machine, I'm going to get 1.7, 1.8.
Which means a lot of air.
Yeah, there's a lot of air in it. But the air helps with, the butter makes it creamy because it has such a high overrun.
Right.
And gelato has a very low overrun. So those are the two differences. And then the others is that gelato is served at a warmer temperature. It melts faster in your mouth, so usually the flavors pop really quickly. So I would say that's probably the third difference.
How do you keep things, usually with lower fat frozen desserts, you have a problem of crystallization. How do you prevent those crystals from forming so that when you taste it, it doesn't taste like what we used to call ice milk?
Emulsifiers.
So emulsifiers like lecithin and things like
that? Yes. So there's different types. Guar gum is super helpful for that. So whatever your combination of different gums or emulsifiers, stabilizers, whatever you want to call it, we use a combination, but we also use a sugared egg yolk in it to help because egg's a stabilizer in it to help it give it a super creamy texture.
And there's no restrictions on eggs in gelato.
No.
Like there is with cream.
Right, no.
So are you making your own mixes then, or do you buy a pre-made mix from? No,
so my parents were the very first ice cream shop in the state of Pennsylvania in 1999 to get a dairy license because they wanted to they went to the ice cream short course in Penn State, which people are still going to
That's
this
right, Penn
day.
State is famous for their course,
And they went there.
Isn't that where Ben
learned.
and Jerry went?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, everybody. If there's a couple schools, but that's the one that they went to.
Yeah.
And they went there and learned that so some people will just take a 10% custard base and a 2% frozen yogurt base, mix them together, get their fat content somewhere around 7%,
acceptable,
and call it gelato.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that. They wanted to make the authentic gelato that they found in Italy and bring it back. So they had to learn with Malcolm Stogo, who was, the head of his time with gelato in the United States. They went and schooled with him. He took them to Bologna and they learned how to make it, and then came back and learned the whole pasteurization process of it. For years we did that. But then when I took over the business and I said, hey, listen, we need to kind of scale this to be something that's bigger, we couldn't be making 15 gallons at a time. We needed hundreds of gallons at a time. So we work with a local dairy. They have our recipe and we buy our base. They pasteurize it and manufacture that and then bring it to us.
Is there anything that, in terms of the milk type or quality itself, does it matter what kind of milk, or is regional milk important to your product?
We use a local whole milk, but I don't think that there would be much of a difference.
I'm just thinking in terms of, and again, maybe it's more with ice cream, but when I lived in California, there was a big debate over Jersey milk, Jersey cows versus Guernsey cows, and
we've always just used a Marburger dairy. They're
it's a local, it really is a local product for you.
Yep.
And do you think when you scale it up that you'll be able to continue to scale with their milk, or will you have to then reach out to other regions to be able to get all the milk you need?
No, I think we're okay. I think they'll be able to support us.
That'll be a good problem to have when the time comes.
Yes.
Well, Anna, I really appreciate you, joining us today. I know you got this expo, a lot going on here, and I know that you've got to get back and find out how your brother's doing.
I know. I want to see how he did. I
hope he took a photo of his pizza.
I'm handling the Make-A-Wish booth. So for the WPC, we support. We sell water at Expo, and we just are asking for donations for Make-A-Wish. And so I'm I volunteered to kind of lead that. So I need to make sure everybody knows what they're doing.
When you say
they
the
come.
WPC, what does that
The
stand
World
for?
Pizza Champion Team.
Oh, that's another thing you're on. You're on the World Champion
We
team.
work the booth
Wow.
in conjunction with Make-A-Wish, and we talk with vendors about making donations and sponsorships and whatnot to the organization. We try. The last 2 years, we were able to raise $50,000 each year.
Fantastic.
And have in the last 2 years supported 12 Wishes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Granted 12 Wishes. So.
Are you going to be competing in Italy? It's coming up in 2 months, I think, right?
I'm not. I competed in Italy last year, and I need a minute, maybe my minute, maybe a year.
Yeah.
But I only like to do things that I really, in my heart of heart, believe I can win. I need to have the time to test it.
Yeah.
I'm not like my brothers who will show up and put something together
Yeah.
and just get second place or first place.
You play to
that
win.
is not
You're
me.
in it to win it.
I'm so
Yeah.
So I didn't have time this past year, just with my kids and school and the restaurants.
Hey, you got a lot of things on your plate, and
lots of time.
Yeah, and listen, one of these times I want to try your gelato. Do I have to come to Pittsburgh to get to taste it, or do you show it and put it?
I actually had it at Pizza Rock on Monday.
Oh, but I wasn't here.
Yeah, so I.
Does Pizza Rock carry your gelato, or is that just one time thing?
Maybe not yet.
Not yet, because it's a West Coast thing, and you're still a regional thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's going to grow. We're going to track it.
Yes.
We're going to have you back on when we can bring some gelato, for tasting. In fact, maybe we'll get a show with your brothers and you on together. And you didn't tell us whatever happened to all the other brothers and family members who didn't go into the business. Are any of them doing it with you?
No.
So they've gone off on their own track.
No, they all have
They're probably
living their best
they're
life
probably
on
going,
Saturday
you guys are
night.
crazy. We're not going to be drawn into that.
They support us in all kinds of other ways.
But anyway, we'll catch up with you, and we'll do one on Zoom. We'll get you on camera, and maybe we can do some kind of a tasting together through the camera.
Yes.
Where
are you located?
Well, I'm in North Carolina, in Charlotte,
I
North
can
Carolina.
ship it to you.
We'll talk about that. I'll get with you on that, and then maybe we can actually do a tasting, and you can tell people how to properly appreciate the nuances of gelato.
I would love that.
Fantastic. Okay,
Really.
we'll set that up. Anna, Crucitt, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mercurio's in Pittsburgh. For anyone who wants to get the real thing, get the pizza, the gelato, meet the Mercurio brothers and Anna, and we'll see you. And tell Michael good luck in the competition.
Thank you.
I'll try to check in later and find out how he did.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks,
Thanks, Anna. And thank you all for joining us on Pizza Quest. We'll see you at the next episode.
Pizza Quest is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.